Hello everybody and welcome to another instalment of The High Road. I'm your host Noel C. Blundell and I'm sitting here with my learned colleague, son and number one confidant, Remy L. Blundell. Hello mate, how are you?
Good afternoon, Dad. How are you going?
I'm going very well mate. What's happening?
Not too much, not too much.
What's going on in your world?
Oh, just same old, staying inside. We had a massive storm recently.
We have, haven't we?
That wiped out quite a lot of trees. I've never seen this much devastation around here, actually. After a storm.
120 kilometre hour gusts of wind.
Wow.
Yes, there was roads cut off all around the region and trees over. There's even a house we've been looking at with no roof.
I feel sorry for those
Poor
folks.
souls, so do I, because they've lost their house. Because immediately after that, we had 4 major downpours.
Did not know a roof was missing.
Yeah, I know.
Till you pointed it out.
Would have filled up with the water and destroyed the house.
Yeah.
So yes, best of luck wishes out to those people because they're in a terrible position. But yes, we have had some very, very severe wind. Again, it's par for the course this time of the year in southern Australia. We have the cold air coming up off the Atlantic, and we have the warm air coming down from the north when they mix right over the top of Tasmania and Victoria. That's where we get this blustery, relentless wind. We will see it again in autumn after summer, mate, when the reverse happens. So,
Yeah.
pretty normal, really.
But what's going on in my life? Nothing, just lattes, reading, working, all that type of stuff.
Great stuff. There is just something mystical and magical about the latte, isn't there?
Yeah, I've just recently, you put me onto them actually. I wasn't much of a coffee drinker. I never really have been. I've been more of a milkshake person for a while, but then I give up milkshakes for I haven't had a milkshake for, I reckon, about 7 years.
And the cow's milk?
Oh, disgusting. But
Now, careful.
I was on the
You'll
chives.
upset people.
Sorry. If you like
Go on.
cow's milk, go for it.
Fair enough.
I'm more
Health
of a
food
chai
of the nation,
person.
you know. You're a chai person. Yes,
Yes.
so am I, mate. But I have changed recently to a latte, and they have been delightful. No, what a nice little discovery. Anyway, today we're going to talk about purpose. Your purpose, my purpose, our purpose, personal purpose is what we're going to talk about today, because it is a bit of a struggle discovering our purpose and sort of getting a grip on it. But once you do discover it and get a grip on it, it can serve you in a most positive way. What do you think about it?
Oh, in an astounding way, really. If you think about it, it could keep you fit, keep you healthy, having a purpose, make you live longer. You could pursue other things.
And I don't know, I might be wrong, but correct me if I am. I get the feeling that there's a lot of people out there that are struggling to find purpose. What do you think?
Yep. Which age range do you reckon?
I reckon it's right across the board, and I reckon it's predominantly male.
Yep. Well, I think males only focus on purpose. I think that's
what they're about, isn't it?
I think that's, yeah. And I think males don't know that or hear about it at all. You have a purpose. So find it.
Well, yes, we used to have 3 purposes. One was we were bred for work, we were bred for marriage, children, and protecting them, and we were bred for protection throughout the 21st century. And prior to that protection also included war.
That's pretty much been not diminished entirely, but the emphasis on those roles have become significantly less demanding.
So,
like protection isn't really needed anymore.
Well, it is in the family, but
it is
we'll
in the
get to
family,
that.
but,
You're right. Go on, keep going.
Working it is necessary, but then again, they are closing down the industries that men thrive in.
Mm-hmm.
And it's pretty easy to live without work and be lazy. And
developing in new industries and alternative industries and filling them up with women.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of the social welfare, men don't really turn for that for work as well. So work is becoming a bit of an issue.
Yes, it is an issue, and it's reducing the amount of available opportunities out there in industry, diminishing, and has been for quite some time. We also have a bit of a downturn in the building industry at the moment. So, builders are starting to find it a bit hard to get work and things along those lines. We also have a divorce rate of around about 50%. So most marriages and break down rapidly.
And that was the third one, right? The marriage and have children.
Mm-hmm.
Well, people aren't reproducing and having children anymore
Yeah,
as much as they
That's
used to. So the three main purposes of what males generally align to by duty is
diminished.
Yes,
And war. So
And
most
war, yeah.
most wars are run by remote now.
Yep.
I think we've spoken about this before, but that's how they do most of it. Most of them are done by drones, and there's not a lot of call for the old foot soldier. So that's diminished as well as a purpose.
And I think males can't avoid this type of topic all the time. A bit taboo. Oh, what's your purpose? And they're like, oh, I don't care about purpose. I get up and I'm a mechanic. Nothing wrong with that. But
No.
there's nothing wrong with that at all. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they don't really talk about it because because most men usually flick in the trades, and I have a lot of respect for tradesmen.
Absolutely,
We need them.
it makes
And
the world go round, mate.
And plumbers, plumbing has advanced us exponentially over the last
The biggest
4
increase
decades.
in recorded human history in health for humans was plumbing.
Yeah, and so I have a lot of respect for them.
The biggest improvement
And
ever.
I don't think they get that much acknowledgement out there, really.
No.
They kind of, as you put it in your upcoming book, Father, stoically carried on with the thankless task.
That's correct. They do, and all the thankless tasks that we see in the community, like getting out in 120 kilometre-hour winds and putting up power lines, and because we were without power for 48 hours, and people lost refrigerator full of food like we did also, and people were out there. There were women included in those crews as well. Shout out to the ladies as well, linesmen, but. There was mostly men. That predominantly is a men's industry. We're out there for probably 48 hours non-stop, putting up lines, cutting trees, clearing roads, attending to people who are in trouble because lots of people had their windows blown in and things along those lines. Yes, they are. They stoically soldier on in the face of life's society's dirtiest jobs. And Professor Camilla Paglia speaks about that, writes about that extensively. You can go and look her up if you want. But today we're talking about purpose anyway.
Yeah, well, I just wanted to wrap this all back to purpose is because they do that task their whole life, 25 years, 35 years.
Yep.
And then they get out of it and they realise, what the fuck am I doing? Oh, excuse the language. What am I doing?
Yeah, they do.
And so that's where they kind of feel it midlife.
That can be a challenging time.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
That can be a challenging time. And we should speak about that in a future podcast. It's probably a good idea.
But, talking about purpose, I have a definition here
Go on.
of purpose. It's just a Google definition. It's not that too
No, it's
detailed.
a good opener. Wikipedia is a good one, although that we all know that Wikipedia has been utilised for other things. But it's a good starting point, and the references in Wikipedia are always very sound. So it's a good starting point. But
purpose here is
a
person's sense of resolve or determination, the reason for which something is done or created, or for which something exists. Or purpose in terms of a man's purpose is the number one motivating aim of living your best life. There could be, I guess, argued a spiritual purpose, which is, I think, probably your foundation in terms of what you want to do. It's about establishing a set of values, principles, and beliefs that give life meaning to you, and then using them to direct and make decisions of what actions you take. I think a spiritual purpose is a good way to put it.
Absolutely. I think that's very important that we actually speak of a spiritual purpose because it gives you the foundation for a moral value base to live by. Right?
And I think that's more important because purpose is viewed as an essential to human existence because it provides meaning, structure, and direction in the world that's inherently chaotic,
confusing,
It's
and contradictory,
important,
yes, and challenging, and full of despair and disaster and things along those lines. So we have to have a purpose to come back to each time our attention is taken away from our lives through disaster, challenge, and chaos. Right? It's about that. It's like we need a bit of chaos in our lives. It keeps us on track. We can't have too much chaos and we can't have too much order. We need a balance of the two right down the middle. as referencing Mr. Jordan Peterson. He's very good at unpacking that concept of chaos and order. But that's what we need. We need chaos and order. Well, you know, it doesn't matter how much order you put into your life, right? The world presents you with chaos, right? So we can live in chaos or we can live in order. Too much of either is not good, right? We need to work out the balance, and our purpose provides us with a pathway to that balance.
Yeah.
Right? Does that sound right?
Yeah, and I like that because, you know, purpose, again, the Google definition was very lacking a lot of detail and meaning.
I've got a bit of a definition here.
Read that one out.
Okay, a personal purpose.
Yeah, that's better.
Well, that's I want to take it from purpose onto personal purpose, right?
Yeah, that's why I kind of
to bring it right down to the individual. That's what I want to talk about today. A personal purpose is an individual's deeply held sense of meaning or direction in life. It is the driving force that motivates a person to pursue specific goals, behaviours, and attitudes, often shaping their identity and action. A personal purpose goes beyond daily routine and material success. It encompasses one's core value, passions, and desires to contribute positively to oneself or others. Essentially, it's what makes a person feel fulfilled and gives life to meaning.
That's great.
What do you think about that definition?
Yeah, that hits the nail on the head.
It sort of sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah. Do you think that without purpose, people, and mainly men, would drift to depression and resentment?
Yes, and there is a little bit of a write-up in that where it's touched on depression and anxiety and how purpose gives you the improved, or put you into a position to have a propensity to an improved mental health or a better mental health, which ultimately reduces depression and anxiety. Yes, purpose is very important. That's why I thought it'd be worthwhile talking about today, because I can't help but feel that particularly a lot of young men in our society are lacking purpose, or even a direction or an idea to pursue a personal purpose.
I think this might be like a better term, but I think that reliance on men and males for a certain role, like providing, is what gives them purpose.
Yes, but there's a few other things included in there as well. Things like self-awareness.
Yep.
How do they get motivation and direction? They say contributing to others can give purpose and also provide you with a sense of fulfillment. You know, a personal purpose often arises from understanding of who you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, passions, and beliefs. It's closely tied to self-discovery, as finding one purpose often requires deep reflection on what generally resonates with you. For example, someone passionate about helping others might discover their purpose in a career focused on community service. Now, that's interesting. That's come up along those lines, because I was having a bit of a chat with your brother last week, and we were talking about purpose. And I personally had struggled about purpose myself for a long period of time, actually searching for different avenues to pursue to give my life purpose. I had a little bit of a struggle there, and it was funny after having a bit of a discussion with Reeves that I realised it's really not that hard, particularly for a young bloke, to work out your purpose, right? And I was speaking to him about it, actually, and we had a bit of a chat, and I thought to myself, well, what would be your purpose? You know, I was thinking, father to Reeves, and how you going? I'm having a bit of things, and had a bit of a quick whiz around and had a look, and I came up with 3 things. And the first one was, Reeves 25 in a couple of weeks. So the age bracket from, say, 18 to 25. I think the first purpose there I was going to talk about this a bit later, but we're going to open it up now, was to pursue your independence. How can you learn skills and do things and put things in place to increase your level of independence? usually at that age, 18 to 25, you're still very connected with home and with parents and things along those lines. Or you may be out on your own already and be quite independent. I don't know. But still, you're looking at a future of independence. And the quicker you can attain independence and stand on your own 2 feet, the better off you will be. So that was the first thing I came up with when we had a bit of a chat about that, was the independence, right? Takes the tiniest steps. It could be open up your own your own internet provider account. Purchase your own motor vehicle. Go and learn how to cook. Do a budget, right? Go shopping for your own underpants, right? I'm talking about young blokes here, right? But,
yeah.
And that's a pretty extreme example. But look at solving your problems yourself and how you can do that. Because every time you're presented with a problem, often as young people and children, they just go to mum and dad. Hey, what about this? I'm hungry. Yep, mum and dad fix it. I'm thirsty. Mum and dad fix that. I've got a hole in my sock. Let's fix that. Right? I can't go to school. Get what I see what I get. Getting that.
Yeah.
And as you go into adulthood, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, right? You start to try on behaviours and aspects of being an adult. And what I'm saying is one of your purposes could be that you start to pursue and have a look around at things that will create a better independent situation for yourself. So then when the issues pop up, you're sick, you can deal with it, right? You got a toothache, you can deal with it. You got a hole in your sock, you can deal with it, right? And the more you do that, the more you get used to that, the more you are independent, the more you'll be able to stand on your own 2 feet. And I think that's a bit of a purpose.
I think that's, definitely.
Yeah. The other one I come up with, and we had a bit of a chat with, was self-growth, inner growth. Now I know you guys have all been through university now. I know you've secured your undergraduate degrees. Well done, bachelor degrees, all three of you, and
you,
yep. And we went on and did honours as well. So I totally understand that. But what I was getting at when I was talking to Reese about it was, that's not the end. Don't stop there. Just find something and keep on chipping away at yourself, inner growth. And that could be spiritual growth, that could be academic growth, that could be physical growth, that could be emotional growth, it could be psychological growth. I recommend you do all of them. You don't have to
all
do
the
them
time.
Well, you don't have to do them all at once.
Yeah.
But if something strikes your interest, and it could be as simple as you're flicking through a social media page and something comes up about a recipe that's low carb, right? How reducing sugar in your diet can have amazing effects on the betterment of your health. And just pull up for a second instead of flick past that. Take that information on. View the world as something you can learn from.
Can I just touch on that for a second?
Go.
That's very important, because I've always said to myself, ever since I went to universities, I get a huge kick out of educating myself.
Yeah, absolutely.
Massive kick. Like,
absolutely.
I love it. It's reading, videos.
Yep.
Websites.
Whatever way it comes.
Whatever, yeah.
Standing and watching a couple of birds fight in a tree.
Yeah.
Right? Over a bread crust. Watch how that dynamic unfolds. And if you take the time to be present to actually look at that stuff, right, it can be fascinating. What about I've got 2 cats at home. They're my wife's cats, but I pat them. When the 2 cats shifted in next door, and our cat's very territorial.
Yeah.
Were you there the time that they were having a bit of a disagreement there? And
no,
it wasn't.
Two,
it was your brother Jonah. We sat there and watched the cats. Right, just for a second. There's a bit of a ruckus. What's going on? Shh, look at this. And we concentrated. We were present on the cats having a disagreement over territory. Right.
Yeah.
Well, the behaviours and the movement and the communication between the 2 animals was just astounding, right?
Yeah.
Of course, we didn't let them go to the fight thing, but they were shooed away before we got into biting and scratching and all that sort of stuff. But the mannerisms and the moving and how they communicated with each other, that they were upset with each other, was fascinating. What I'm getting back to, the world is a learning environment. Take the time to be present and treat the world as if you have something to learn from it, because you do. Okay?
Yeah, like what Peterson says. Just talking to people, assume the person you're speaking to knows something you don't.
Everyone has something they know that you don't.
Yeah.
Because they live their life through their lens and you live your life through your lens. You've really only got your own perspective. And until you speak to somebody else about their perspective, right, that's when you start to get a breadth of experience and a breadth of life experience.
So you said before, just going back to self-growth, right?
Yes.
Could that kind of be in terms of, facing your fears and insecurities and identifying your dark side and
First and foremost,
ask yourself, what are you avoiding?
Those unsettling sensations that you feel in the pit of your stomach or in the basis of your chest, right? Push into them, lean into them. They're the hard places where you can really have wholesome personal discovery.
Because
that's where the reward is. Sorry to cut you off.
That's all right. Sometimes the path to discovering who you are is blocked by the fears and insecurities.
Correct.
Or the difficult truths you're not facing.
Correct. And how do you get around that? How do you get over that? You
step into the unknown.
And you lean into that feeling and sensation. In psychology, we sit down and we have a thing called cognitive behavioral therapy.
Yeah.
And the basis of that is you take the client carefully and slowly in little increments into the environment of their trauma or their phobia. And therefore, you will dispel the intensity of that trauma and or that phobia, right?
Yeah.
It's sort of summed up in the age-old saying of face what you fear most first, and therefore you will conquer fear.
Yeah.
And I've exercised that a lot, something I've been scared about or fear, whatever that might be. If I rush up to it and face it, it's gone. That instant, it's gone.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because I've always been the one to step into the unknown.
Good.
Like, I guess I don't know what's there, but not knowing is more important than knowing.
Okay, so once you've done that, and what happens?
Well, I know. My comfort zone expands that little bit, but it's always...
But has it been rewarding is what I'm
Of
getting
course. I kind of, in a way, thrive off that feeling.
Yes.
Of entering the unknown, which is a bit, whoa.
Yep.
A bit confronting on some cases. And it could be down to the smallest things.
Yep.
Like, it could be down to, in everyday life, smallest. And I feel like you can kind of build it up.
Yes, you do.
It's just like, you've never driven in the city before.
Correct.
Get in the car and drive there.
Yep, give it a go.
Give it a go. Drive there.
Yep.
Pick out your route.
Yep.
Identify where you want to go.
Yep.
Turn around and drive home.
Correct.
And then slowly build up.
Correct.
As a perfect example.
And if it's all getting a bit too much, pull up somewhere and have a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Go to the toilet, sit on the side, look at the birds fighting over a crust.
Yeah.
Right? Then get back in and do a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then repeat that process until you find yourself driving out of the city. You don't have to stop at all.
Yeah.
Right? That's the basis of cognitive behavioural therapy.
And I've always been the one to identify that and do something that I haven't done before.
Yeah.
Like go to a new meeting.
Yes.
I had a huge conversation. It was a huge realization for me actually when I was 16 in high school. And the following year when I was still 16, year 11, and we had the Deb on, the dance with your partner.
Yep.
And you do 10, 12 weeks of dance lessons. Excuse me. And then you have a night out or your family comes and it's real, fancy.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Yeah, well, I didn't want to do that.
Yep.
And I said no.
Yeah,
and
okay.
I didn't have a partner. And I just want to say this because this is when I realised that, holy crap, I need to do something I don't like doing and do something, the unknown. Like, I don't want to dance with, I'm shy. I don't want to dance with another chick from my level. Anyway, it was really weird because the universe shifted and moved for me to do it. It was the Friday before the Monday of our first lesson, because it was every Monday, I think, that was the lesson. There have been multiple forms, like last chance to get in, sign all this. I didn't sign one form at all. On the Friday, before the first lesson on the Monday, my Deb partner, her partner who she was meant to dance with, dropped out, said, nah, stuff this, I'm not doing it, and left school. And she was without a partner. And we were kind of friends at that point. And she asked me, said, do you want to do it? And I was like, you know what? Yeah. I said, stuff it, I'll do it. I've never done it before. I'm never going to be in this situation ever again. You're never 16 again. You're never going to dance with your high school mates ever again. It was like, you know what? Yeah, I'll do it. And I gave it a red hot crack, and I had so much fun.
There you go.
It was awesome.
There you go.
I learnt a boys' dance, learnt multiple dances. I
Yep.
got to dance with mum and grandma
Yep.
when they come. It was fantastic.
Right.
And I grew a lot out of it. And I learned that when I was 17.
There you go.
So whenever something like that comes up, I jump at it.
And that set the foundation for you to look at other things that you sort of are questioning at the time, but lean into.
Yeah.
And then you take away the big reward.
And I think if you don't jump on that early enough or be encouraged or have some role modeling around on how important it is to do new things,
Yep.
you fall into this trap.
Yes.
You start saying no when you're 14. You start
Correct.
saying no when you're 16. You start
Yep.
saying no when you're 18. You could be 55 saying no to new stuff.
That's correct. And you're stuck in your own little world then.
Yep.
Unfortunately, you don't grow then, right? And therefore, you have big moments of loss of purpose, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Which
Anyway,
can spiral into a negative
went on
situation.
tangent then, but yeah,
But
that's what I wanted
I
to
think
say.
that was quite good.
Yep.
But it was interesting that you come up with that. You got to socialise and things along those lines. Because the third thing I mentioned as a purpose for Reeves, who's between the age bracket of 18 and 25, was social and relationship building. Getting out in society and starting to mix with other people and start to build relationships with both males and females of all ages and listening to their experiences, which you just touched on.
Yes.
Right? I'm not going to do this dance. And then you thought, oh, bugger it, why not? Because I'm never going to be 16 again. Let's see what happens. Went in and had a ball, right?
It was awesome.
Well,
I'll do it again.
There you go. I think that sums up, realistically for that age bracket, your purpose.
Yeah. And
Pursue independence, self-personal inner growth, and be that academic, physical, emotional, or psychological, right? And or building social and or relationship building. I think that sums it up.
yeah.
That would cover it. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, that's a difficult age, 18 to 25, because you sort of you've been through your education process.
Yeah.
You're sort of just taking on the reins of becoming an adult. You sort of all these things are rushing into your life, like girls and going out to clubs and alcohol availability. And now you have to vote and make decisions about the governance of the country.
You got to
Now
pay
you
for
have
bills.
You got to pay
Yeah.
bills. You got to generate income. You got to look at your career. You got to find out what you're doing and what's happening next. If you're not happy where you're working or not happy with where you are in your vocation or your career, you have to explore other things to do. Then you got to incorporate generating an income and gaining education at the same time. Coming out from under the reins of your parents a little bit more. The whole lot of stuff rushes on that time, so it's very easy to lose focus on purpose. But I think if you sum it up into those three things: independence, self-growth, and building relationships, and just focus on that in the short term. Well, if you become more independent, right, living life becomes a whole lot easier. You get a lot more benefits from it. You feel a lot better about yourself. You have better mental, physical, emotional, and psychological health, right, for a starter. If you start to keep on growing, just learning new techniques, right, your ability to become better at being independent becomes quicker, easier, and faster, and you become much better at it, right? And therefore, you're in a much better psychological place to maintain and build long-term relationships. Hence, best friends, girlfriends, wives, children, right? See how it all falls into each other?
I can't help but feel
Anyway.
like the lockdown really contributed to a loss of purpose. Just quickly.
Yeah, I tend to agree.
Yep.
And we're sort of coming back from that. We're sort of digging ourselves out of that, you know?
So I got a question.
Go
So
for it.
if you're identifying your purpose, can it be reliant on an end goal?
Oh, yeah, goal-based. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, but I mean like an end goal. Like you say, my purpose is to buy this car.
Yep.
And then you buy it.
Yep.
And then what?
Well, you got to find a new purpose.
Okay, so long term,
Yes.
you want a purpose that is kind of ongoing.
Yeah, but, well, that's interesting. Good question. So that brings us up to material purpose, right? And personal or inner or spiritual purpose. That's two of them. You want a purpose. Your purpose is to buy this car. So you knuckle down, you buy it, you save it up, away you go, boom. You go and buy it. Now what I'm going to do with myself?
That's right.
That happens to people. That happens to a lot of people every 5 years. set a goal, it takes you 5 years to achieve it, you go and achieve it. At the end of that, you're sitting around going, right, next, right?
Yep.
I've suffered that on a number of occasions, right? A lot of people who buy and sell, or establish small businesses and stay in them for 5 or 6 years, and then the purchasers come along and say, I want that business of you, you sell it. No worries. You can have it, no worries, because I'm tired, I've had enough. They sell it. Within 4 weeks, those people that have sold that business, that have spent their life for the past 5 or 6 years, fall in a big hole.
Yep.
They don't know what to do with themselves. They're walking around in circles, they're drinking too much, they're getting really depressed and sad, and, their sleep patterns are up the putt. They have a real struggle, right? And, I've experienced that before. I've experienced being in that before. 5 years come, it's 5 years up, and what now, right? That's why I've always sat with you guys every 3 or 4 years with an exercise book and 5 questions about what is
life
it?
goals, long-term goals, pursuing
Correct.
goals, yeah. Well,
Right.
There's a term for it. It's like your outlook for the next 5 years.
Correct.
Like that.
Yeah, correct. And what are your goals? Write your goals down, right? And if you don't achieve them, how are you going to look, right? So if you don't reduce your drinking, if you don't reduce your smoking, if you don't increase your ability to explore other career options, and if you don't do any of those things, how is your life going to look? Then alternative on the next page, as we turn over the exercise book as part of this exercise with you guys, is how's your life going to be if you do achieve these 5 things, right? And then you write down, what your life's going to look. Well, I'm going to have a nicer car. I'm going to be more educated. I'm going to have more money. I'm going to, right, blah, 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 right? So you have the comparison of the worst case scenario and the best case scenario.
And that's very motivating.
And then you get to choose what you want to do, right? So anyway, back to what I was talking about. We've got a material purpose, and we've got an emotional, physical, psychological, spiritual purpose, right? I think those two are very different.
Yes,
right?
okay.
If your purpose is to be, say, if you're a muso or something like that, your purpose is to create music or you're an artist. You create art. You want to create that art because people enjoy that and they like to see that. And when you create that piece of art, it stays there forever, right? You've actually created something that will last and span the distance of time, right? That's you giving back to the community. That's a different purpose, right? That's not material, and that would be never ending. Say if you're in social welfare and you want to help people, say you want to help the homeless, right? So you go out there and you help the homeless. Well, that's not going to come to a point where you go, okay, well, there's no more homeless left.
That's what I mean.
Right?
A goal that's ongoing.
Right. So that's a goal that's ongoing.
Yep.
Where the materialistic goals have an ending because you achieve it. And once you achieve it, you purchase whatever you were working to get. And then you pick something else.
Because it could be like, my purpose is to provide for my family.
Yes.
That's ongoing.
Yes, that's ongoing.
My purpose is to help people. Ongoing.
And your family needs change all the time, so therefore your boundaries going to change.
Yeah.
Right.
And then, because I was just wondering, it's like you can have a goal for something material, but I don't think it's fulfilling. I feel like aligning yourself with beliefs and a spiritual goal is where your actions in the material world really take charge.
Yep, I think so. I tend to agree. There's a lot of important factors that go along with pursuing your purpose and knowing a purpose and what to do. It can improve your mental health, as we've spoken about, reduce depression and anxiety, as we've spoken about. It can also enhance your physical health, promote personal growth. There we go again. And adds value to your life's journey. Now, we've spoken about life's journey before, right? And the more you go about pursuing some of these purposes, good word, of self-awareness and inner growth and things along those lines, you grow as a person, right? So you actually value add to your life experience. Now, when you're a young fellow like yourself, right, 24, 25, 26, that can seem a little bit hollow, right?
Very.
Right, but time moves on quickly, as
Very
we've
fast.
spoken about before.
Very fast.
How many minutes ago were you 18?
Oh, I forgot. No, it feels like yesterday.
Righto. Well, it was only a day before that. I was 18, right?
Yeah.
So it goes so quick. And if you have been pursuing these little goals and picking up little things and facing little fears on the way, very, very quickly you will grow a bank of experiences, right? Where there's always someone coming up behind you right, who haven't had those experiences yet, and they're struggling with them. It's a bit hard, right? I'm having trouble with this, whatever that may be, school, ladies, whatever, riding a push bike, whatever, right? And that's where your experience base kicks in. You go, oh, listen, I've been there before, I've done that before.
Yep.
I would dare say this very scenario you are actually living in at the moment when you do your work with the youth group, better mental youth group, yeah?
Yep.
Where how you have teenagers come sitting down, they're struggling in high school with whatever the case may be, and you're sitting down with them going, hey, I've been there.
Yeah.
I remember that like that was yesterday.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't that what you're doing?
Yes, pretty much. When I talk to some people, yeah.
And they're sitting down and going, oh, wow, really? Right?
Yeah.
Well, you've accumulated that information over the past 5 to 7 years that you didn't even know. Now, it's not until someone sits down and prompts you going through that same situation, which you remember vividly, and dealing with that and how you come through that and got out the other side, and what is the good way to do that and the bad way to do that. That question by that teenager teases that answer and that information out of you. Then you pass that on to that person. They take from it what they want, and then they move on and try and deal with the situation the best they can.
That's why it's so important to
speak with people. Get out and socialise. Yes,
take advantage of opportunity.
Absolutely,
because that was something that I wrote about just in my Word documents here, because I really like talking about it. I think it was a chapter called "A Lifetime of Opportunity."
A lifetime is an opportunity.
Yeah,
right?
Sorry, that's right.
Yep.
A lifetime is an opportunity, and jump at that.
Yep.
Because I think it may be the worst experience of your life. Doesn't mean you'll learn nothing.
Correct.
Because I like what I always say. It's like I want to go do this. Like me and my partner. I want to go do this. I don't know what it's going to be like, but we'll just do it. See what happens. Could be terrible. Could be good.
You'll find that the worst experience in your life will be conversely, the biggest learning lesson of your life.
And like I've done things that are not great and could have stayed home and watched TV, but I got something out of it.
Correct.
Whether
Correct.
it's good, bad, or indifferent.
All experiences are hugely beneficial, mate. And they all contribute to a knowledge base that you're accumulating over your lifetime, right?
So do you think about how do I put this? In a way, it's the grinding. It's the continuous experiences, continuous taking advantage of opportunities is what's going to get you to find your purpose and reach your goal.
Yes, but there's some fundamentals there that are quite clear to young people between, say, 18 and 25, right? One is independence. It's a huge one for you guys, right? Because you've just sort of taken, at that age, 18 to 25, you're just sort of starting to take on the responsibilities of an adult, right, which you've been striving to achieve since you become conscious. All I want to do is grow up and be a fireman.
Yep.
All I want to do is grow up and fly a plane. All I want to do is grow up and own a motorbike, right?
Yep.
There's a litany of those things. Now you're allowed to. You've been waiting so long, right? And it's a little bit more difficult than you first thought, right? And you're all wobbly. It's like riding a push bike for the first time, right? Being an adult for the first time, you're all wobbly and you make mistakes and all that sort of stuff. Plus, as human beings, our frontal cortex doesn't develop, particularly in young men, fully until you're 25.
That's fascinating.
So your frontal cortex is the part of your brain. If you put your hand on your forehead, that part of your brain directly behind your hand and behind your forehead is your prefrontal cortex. That is responsible for your executive functioning, which is responsible for your ability to reason, assess risk, and make decisions to minimise risk and organise your life. That's underdeveloped in young men, underdeveloped in children. Young men have a propensity for that to develop slower. It's not until they're well into their 25 that starts to develop.
Yeah, I also think that a lack of purpose among that age range, 18 and 25, is also because men aren't in any real hurry to grow up.
Correct. And they got to take responsibility and don't want to.
Yeah, and they really have no boundaries
Correct.
Of anything, not like women do. They have to have their life sorted pretty much by the age of 30, 35, or a door start to close.
Well, that's correct. And that's the fertility doorway. Of course, they say that's now open until well into your 40s, and women do carry pregnancies that late in life. I understand that fully.
It's very low though.
It's high risk.
Yeah,
high risk for the baby, high risk for the woman as well when you're into the 40s and carrying pregnancies. But your window of opportunity is about 28 to 34, right? You only got a little window, right? And usually, men and women get into about 3 or 4 relationships, maybe for 5, say 4, right? And the average period of time is between 2 and say 4 years.
Yep, to have
a bit of an experiment in relationships and what's good and what's bad, and have a failure here. Well, you do that 3 times, there's 12 years. If you start having relationships when you're 19 and 12, that's 31 before you find your partner.
Yep.
Right?
So
then women only really got about a 2 to 3 year gap to actually start to have children, start a family and things along those lines, right? Where it's safe for them and safe for the child.
Yep.
Right? So it's harder for women. They've got to take a bit more responsibility in what's going on, because they actually hold the ability to have children.
And that's why they develop a lot quicker than men as well.
Yes, they do.
So yeah, I understand that. They're under different pressure.
They are under different pressure. That's correct. That's correct. That's right. Yes, right across the board. That is correct. And so that's the differences between the sexes, which is quite clear, and they're not decided by social construct
or biological demands.
Or biological demands dictates who you are.
Yeah,
you're feminine, masculine. What's going, and that has a propensity to underpin who you are.
Yeah. What's a good term for that, actually? Biological parameters, biological boundaries.
Yes, biology's probably a good one.
Yeah. So I don't know, but you get what I mean.
I certainly do. Anyway, we've spoken about how to discover our purpose too, haven't we?
Yep.
Reflect on your values.
Yep.
And what do you stand for? What are your principles? What matters most to you? Would determine what your purpose would be, right? And I suppose those parameters would kick in a bit further, when you're a bit older, say 25 to 45, right? Because your life changes. Once you hit 25 and you're in 28, 30, 31, your whole life changes, and your purpose all changes again. Where you're quite comfortable to be independent. You can live on your own all day long then, right? So your life changes. Your life changes pretty regularly, about every 5 years.
Yeah.
Your whole situation changes. We'll cover that.
Just quickly, say that you're trying to look for your purpose and you're not that independent, and you tackle the independency and you tackle the education, say.
Yep.
You try to get independent as you can, and you try to get educated as much as possible, and you get work, and then there's your purpose. But soon you'll realise that life is made up of a type of hierarchy of needs. Is it Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Correct. That's him.
And so I guess it's kind of one thing leads to another. You can get independent, you can get educated, you can find work, but throughout those 3 experiences, you get lonely.
Yes.
You need a partner,
Yes.
And then when you get a partner, you want children.
Yes.
And then when you get children, you got to raise them.
Yes.
So it's one after another, because you can reach all those things, but people are going to have different challenges wherever you are.
That's why I was saying that your life changes from 25 to 30 to 45, because the whole lot changes.
Yeah, and I think embrace that.
Absolutely, 150%. That will give you
Purpose.
Bingo.
Yeah.
So, and that's yes. That's exactly right. And embrace that. But today, as what we've spoken about, is a purpose, determining a purpose for a 18 to 20-year-old, 18 to 25, sorry. So, that's what we wanted to speak about today. And we did speak about finding inspiration from others, didn't we?
Yeah.
Because
social relationships.
Well, and this is, I was listening to a podcast today, and they were saying that we're living in a cultural war. Now, I don't like the language, but I tend to agree.
Yeah, I
right?
agree.
So, and one of those battlefronts was generation.
Okay.
Where the young were not happy to talk to the older generation not happy to talk to the younger generation. I think that's a catastrophe. personally.
Yeah.
Right? Because those little snippets of experience that we were talking about just 10 minutes ago, and how we get an accumulation of them, and therefore people who are older and have been on life's journey a bit longer has some little tips that might be useful to you if you're younger and struggling with something. So we need to communicate and swap those stories around, right? As I've advocated before, young men need mentors, right? And who are going to be their mentors? Is older men. So I always advocate that older men pull up and see how that young bloke's going. Ask him, you all right? How you going? What's going on for you? What have you done lately?
Yeah, a lot of...
And exchange information, because a young bloke might have something to teach you older blokes.
That's interesting because Indigenous, like
very much
Red
so.
Indians, they always had an elder
Bingo.
that always spoke to, rely on mentors. There is none of that here.
Absolutely. Indigenous tribes were masters at it. You know, they had male initiation ceremonies and female ceremonies, and they also had elders, and you progressed into a leadership position as you got older, because as you do get older and accumulate those snippets of experiences, you begin to build a bank of experiences, and all of a sudden, unbeknownst to you, you are being viewed as a leader, right? Now, you can embrace that or you can deny that. That's your choice.
I've got a question. As a consequence of not having your purpose, you kind of flick into an environment of structure, work. Work's a good example, actually.
Work will consume you.
Yes, education. But also... you can drift into negative things like gangs.
Absolutely.
Because I think that's massive for men, is that they just want structure to start with and purpose. But the troubled ones and the ones that have really rough upbringings, they lean to gangs. And,
correct.
And,
Correct. Steve Biddulph wrote a book on boys. He's a very good author on writing about boys. He's a youth worker from the western suburbs of Melbourne. He went to Los Angeles, I think, in the 90s. Late 80s, 90s, and he went and studied and hung out with gangs. He found that I think it was as high as 92%, 95% of gang members come from families where there was no male role model.
That's what, and then the gang is their role model.
The gang is their role model.
Yeah.
And because it is unsupervised, and of course all the gang members have an undeveloped prefrontal cortex, which means they have the inability to assess risk, right? They all make silly decisions. So they all do the silly things because they are trying to belong in a social setting that they give high priority to. Hence, in America, they have a big gun problem and they have a lot of people shooting each other. Most of those murders are children fighting amongst themselves. When I say children, sorry, wrong word. But the age group for that is like 16 through to 24, 25, right? Where childhood disputes have escalated over long periods of time. Bravado, trying to belong to a social group, right? Which they put a lot of emphasis in, who has replaced the father figure in the home.
That's right.
That's been proven. Anyway, Steve Biddulph wrote quite a bit about that, and he's a good author, actually. I've read a couple of his books and I've learned a lot from him, you know.
Yeah, so I just want to talk about that quickly because it's the role model, like what you're talking about, the old people pulling up young blokes. It's like that type of mentoring is how native Indigenous kept their tribes healthy and why young men fall into gangs and stuff. No role model.
Yep. Well,
anyway, I have some final thoughts here.
Go on. Yes,
just
please
to wrap
do.
up,
Yeah, go for it.
Because I think we've spoken about everything.
Go.
Discovering who you are and identifying your purpose is a journey that requires self-honesty, courage, and patience. By reflecting on your values, facing your fears, taking responsibility, and setting meaningful goals, you can move forward a life filled with purpose. This path may not be easy, but it will be profoundly rewarding.
Fantastic. And give your life meaning.
Yep.
That's beautiful, mate. Well done. I think that'll sum it up for today. What do you think?
Yep.
Is there anything else you wanted to add to that?
That's everything. Covered all bases.
Look, that was a really good discussion.
Yep.
I thought it was fantastic, actually. We should actually open up that door again. Maybe another podcast. What do you think? There's plenty there.
Yeah, plenty.
There's loads there on purpose. We will. And we'll look at some other age brackets like 25 to 35 and 35 to 45 and potentially 45 through to 65. We might even look at a few of Erickson's 8 stages of man and unpack that theory from our psychology class days. What do you think?
Yeah.
Is that a good idea?
Yeah, I love that.
Listen, thank you guys out there for listening to us. We've had a great time, and we do have a great time doing these podcasts. If you want to reach out to us, you can reach us on all the socials. We're also on YouTube nowadays. You can access the shows. And we look forward to answering your questions. Thank you to everyone who's prescribed and subscribed and downloaded our shows. And we love having you on board. You take care. Look after yourself. And we'll talk to you next time in another installment of The High Road. Take care, mate.
See you later.
See you, everybody.
Ta-da.
Bye-bye.